Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Stacy Dykstra, and I'm the Director of Business Development at Kane Ellsworth & Company. And I am so pleased to be joining you for the last forum for this year of year 2 in the Academy for Excellence in Leadership. You've made it through year 2, and we have so enjoyed being on this journey with you. It just seems so fitting that as the school year is ending, so is this year in the Academy. We hope you're looking forward to your summer break. So are we, but we also hope that you're looking forward to restarting again in September when the year 3 kicks off. We are also looking forward to beginning year 3 with you. We're going to be starting today's forum by looking back a little bit and just reflecting over the last 2 years and what your curriculum has looked like, and see where you started and how far you've come. And then we're going to take a little bit of time to look forward and talk a little bit about what year 3 is going to look like for you. We're going to talk through just a few reminders as we wrap up this year, and then we're going to dig into our topic for today, which is on the ripple effect and how to build a powerful business network. Today's session might be just a little bit shorter than the other sessions, and if so, you're welcome. I thought I would get you started a little bit early on your summer vacation. If not, I apologize. I can sometimes get into the topic a little bit and ramble a little bit longer than what I had anticipated. So if that's the case, my apologies for that. So let's get started on today's topic. Here's a roadmap. Like I said, we're going to look back and look forward. And then we're going to continue on in our 3-part series on business development. It's a continuation of what we've talked about before, and it's going to build off of our previous building blocks. I'm going to share a couple of pitfalls I see people tend to fall into when it comes to business development. I think it happens all the time. It happens to myself. I know that from personal experience. And then I'm going to share some thoughts and ideas, as well as maybe some opportunities for you as to how you can differentiate yourself from your competitors, and then how you can build this powerful business network. I'm going to share some ideas, some stories, and hopefully stretch your thinking so that you can start innovating and brainstorming and coming up with some ideas for yourself that maybe you can start using to build your own business network. Then we're going to finish off with those 3 key questions. Again, I want you to use these to just stimulate some thoughts and ideas. It's a way to just start maybe thinking about your goal and where you want to go with that. Maybe start thinking about even your project for next year. Maybe this is something that you want to dig into for next year when you're thinking about your project. It's also something to be thinking about with your guide, but also if you're meeting with a leadership team, or if you're thinking about how can I use what I've learned and bring that into my organization. It's some questions that you can use then as you're meeting with others inside your organization. So that's what the point of these questions are for, okay? So let's recap. You've made it through year 2. I think it's crazy how fast a year can go. Every year, I just think it seems like it goes faster and faster. I want you to know how appreciative we are of the work that you've put in, the efforts that you make, the time that you take to meet with your guide, the time that you take to follow up on monthly goals. Remember your project, and we do want to see a summary. It's part of that accountability piece, so please put together some type of a summary. Your summary doesn't have to be very long, but we do want to see something about your project, and you need to email that to either Matt, myself, or Julie, but one of us needs to receive that, a summary of your project, what you did, the results perhaps, the accountability. Did you present this to the board? Did you present this to the leadership team? What was kind of your rollout for your project? This needs to be done by May 31. We want to thank you also for your participation at the annual conference, and we want to encourage you to be thinking ahead already to next year. Remember that everything needs to be wrapped up by May 31. So go into the OPT, update your goals, update your projects. Make sure that you get that all taken care of by May 31. Is that May 31 a hard rule? No, it's not. But the reason why we put that in there is because accountability is very important. Accountability is important in leadership. Accountability is important for the people that you also lead. And if we don't show that in our own work, we can't expect others to follow. It's from the top down. And so it's important that we model the behavior that we want others to set. And so accountability is a very important piece of that. So try to get that taken care of by May 31. So looking back, year one, the focus was around personal effectiveness and customer management, if you remember that. We talked about using time wisely. That was the very first one. Key principles of time management. It is always such an important topic, and one that consistently seems to come up is like, how do I even manage my time? We talked about the importance of calendaring, setting aside time for these important projects that never seem to quite make it to the top of our list because they're never the fire that needs to be put out. We talked about personal integrity, on looking at your personal strengths and talents and how you can leverage those to even grow in your career. But then we also talked about those areas of personal weakness, because we all have them. And how can we really be honest with ourselves and look at those areas where we have personal weakness so that we can try to minimize those and work on those. We need to always be focusing on our strengths, but we can't turn a blind eye to our weakness and just say, oh, well, there they are. We always have to be looking at our areas of personal weakness as well. We talked about setting goals and then accomplishing them and the importance of accountability. We talked about customer management, how important it is to select and keep the right customers, and how that really is the foundation for everything related to customer service, even marketing and business development. It all starts with choosing the right customers. We talked about providing exceptional customer service, and that was the first in our business development series. We only had one section that year. Then we talked about helping to make customer transitions successful, and that was talking about how do we start this process of pushing our work down so that we can train that next generation, I'm going to say, of leaders. You cannot create capacity for yourself if we are not pushing down work and creating opportunities for others inside our organization. I just wanted to mention, if you hear a little bit of sound in the background, I am working from home today, and I do have a little one here with me. So if you hear a little bit of something in the background, or if I pause, I just wanted you to know it's because I am working from home today. And so I might pause periodically just to block out some of that background noise, okay? So in year two, we talked and just shifted our focus to team development and then business development, and that's how we wrapped up year two. So we talked about giving and receiving constructive feedback. We talked about delegation. We talked about performance evaluations and how those can be more effective. We talked about coaching, mentoring. We talked about how to deal with underperformers and how to have those honest and transparent conversations. And then we started our first in our three-part series on business development. why business development is important for you in your career, why it's important for all the people inside your organization, how we can commit to a personal business development plan and why that's so important. And now today we're going to be talking about this ripple effect and how we can build a powerful business network. Year 3 really starts this process of a little bit of a shift and a change in focus. So it's going to dig into some really hard topics on leader development. It's talking about leader courage, some topics like avoiding the bandwagon, avoiding gossip, really excellent but hard hitting topics. It's going to be a really great year. Some of my favorites are avoiding the bandwagon. It really ties into this idea of leader courage. Another great one is avoiding the 10 worst habits of otherwise great leaders. I always find that when I'm reviewing this one and looking at this one, there are some of those topics that just really hit me right in the gut, and it is a good reminder for myself. As you look over this list and as you think back over year 2, start thinking about what you might want to be working on as a project for year 2. Or for year 3, sorry about that. Challenge yourself. Remember to be courageous. Leaders need to be courageous, and it all starts with you. One thing I always like to remind myself too is courage is contagious. And if you're a courageous leader, it will challenge others and encourage others inside of your organization to be courageous as well. One more reminder, the annual conference for 2025. I can't believe we're already talking about 2025, but here we are. We are going to be having this year's conference again at the Tempe Mission Palms. Now, we did get some feedback about maybe considering alternative locations, and we will be looking at that for the year 2026. But you have to be making these reservations quite a bit out in the future. So we will be talking about that at the conference in 2025. So just so you know, we are going to be looking at and talking about switching up the conference. So looking at having the location for the conference, maybe having a 3-year cycle, and every year changing, but having 3 locations. So we'll be talking about that in February. The dates are February 6 and 7. It's just a little bit later, and that's just because of the way the calendar falls. So it's on Thursday and Friday again. We will be sending out a link for the hotel rooms. So when we send that out, be sure to go online and reserve your rooms and get that taken care of, just so that we make sure that we have that block of rooms taken care of, okay? All right, so let's dig into today's topic. It's the proper approach to business networking. And I believe that if we do it the right way, it creates this ripple effect inside of your entire organization. And that's why I named it what I did, the ripple effect. Let me start with this thought. We live in an increasingly connected world, and technology has made our circles of influence so much greater today. I'm amazed at how connected we really are. It's just really astonishing when you think about it, how much broader our circle of influence is today, and that's largely due to technology and the impact of social media. Our sphere of influence is night and day difference today from what it was just 20 to 30 years ago. Even think about that, even 10 years ago, think of how much difference it is. And it's only becoming more and more so as we feel the impact of social media on our society and technology. As our circle of influence is growing, we're having larger numbers of people inside of our connection group, right? Think about it, if you have any teens or young adults inside of your family, think about the number, simply think about the number of friends or the number of connections that they have. When I think about myself and the number of people that I considered friends inside of my circle as a teen as compared to my children, and the number of friends that they had just from the impact of social media, the difference is vast. But here's where I want to challenge you today. Are our connections stronger? Are they more effective? Are they more efficient? Is our connectedness better today, or is it simply just larger? Are we just simply getting more numbers? Is it simply more overwhelmingly? Are we getting more frequent touches, but are these touches less effective when we're thinking of building a business network? Even when we're thinking about our friendships, do we have more friends, but are we really less connected with our friends? So what is the answer then today? What is that key to really building a powerful and effective business network? What is that foundational answer? We've all heard it said, it's who you know, not what you know that matters, right? While that statement seems like an indictment of name droppers and corporate climbers, there is an element of truth to this, right? Individuals rarely find success in isolation. In order to achieve success, you need others inside of your connection, inside of your circle to help you get to the top, right? It all is about networking. If you want to get that next job, it usually takes some kind of a connection or someone that knows someone to help you get there. Think of some of the best fundraisers you know. They connect and they raise money, and they seem to be able to do it with such ease. And I believe it's because of these great connections they've made and the belief in the story they've told. So there certainly must be some truth to this statement that it's about who you know. There are also risks, though, and pitfalls to this viewpoint that it's all about who you know and not what you know. And if this is not handled correctly, it can and most likely will lead to some type of misfire. And so you need to be very careful with how you handle this, especially if people just become a number to you and it's all about numbers. So please listen carefully to this. There are two pitfalls to transactional networking, which is this numbers game, right? Just it's about who you know and just this numbers thing. Many people fall into this trap. The first one is only helping those who are going to help you in return. And then the second one is keeping score of favors. I have seen many people get derailed by these. And I know that I've mentioned this in our previous session, but I feel it's a very important topic that bears repeating. I have seen, and I know from personal experience that this is something that has happened to me. And it's something that when I first started building a business network at Kane Ellsworth and Company, I know that I started off by keeping track of who was helping us build and who, and keeping score, keeping this tally card. So if numbers and transactional networking is not the answer, then what is? And let me share with you what I think is the answer. And I call it the ripple effect of purpose-driven networking. I want to talk through this with you and explain what I think it is. It's the giver's advantage. It's the single most effective way to build a powerful business network, and that's simply to help others around you achieve what they want. My experience and my passion and enthusiasm for building a business network and for what I do can be summed up in really 7 words. It's not about you, it's all about them. In the times when I've been focused more on myself and when I've gotten so caught up in my ego, my career, my recognition, I've not been as successful or felt near as rewarded as when I've kept the focus and the priority on others. Helping others is simply the single most effective way to build a powerful business network. And the impact helping others can have affects not only you, but ultimately it impacts your entire organization, your team, and actually your communities. It creates this ripple effect of success. It creates this competitive differentiation, this innovation, this motivation inside your organization. It creates stronger customer, employee, community relationships, and ultimately it leads to improved financial performance. This is that ripple effect that I'm talking about. How did I come to this determination? If I started off as thinking it was all about a numbers game, how did I come to this kind of complete shift where I thought it's more about giving and not about keeping track? And I tell you what, it's basically from these two books. I read these two books and it started shifting things for me. I read this book, Never Eat Alone, and this book by Keith Ferrazzi, and then this book called Give and Take by Adam Grant. And they really created a dynamic shift for me in my viewpoint on networking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some thoughts and quotes from these books. And I want you to listen kind of to the consistency inside of both of these books. And they both share this philosophy in helping others so that we don't have to keep score. And how, when we do that, we have that viewpoint and we take hold of this philosophy, we succeed. And we succeed by giving more than we receive. When we relinquish control and when we just become generous, generosity will breed success. And for me, that was very empowering and very exciting. So that's what we're going to do, okay? I'm going to just talk through these two books, and I hope that it kind of lays this platform for how I believe that yeah, it creates this ripple effect of success, okay? So the first book I'm going to talk about is Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi, okay? So the key principle of his book talks about the importance of making connections continuously, not just when you need something, okay? And so here's just a few quotes from his book. Here's the first quote I wanted to share. I learned that real networking was about finding ways to make other people more successful. It was about working hard to give more than you get. Here's another quote. The bottom line, it's better to give before you receive and never keep score. If your intentions are ruled by generosity, your rewards will follow suit. And the thing that he points out too in his book is that if your intentions are not honest, people can read through that. They can tell fakeness. Here's another quote. Nothing grosses me out more than someone who thinks in terms of favor banks, where one person owes another and vice versa. People can tell when you're tallying up a total, and who really likes that? The healthy alternative, of course, is someone who recognizes that success is gained through giving without keeping score. This honest generosity. It is so easy to get caught up in this trap of keeping score and to get frustrated because it feels like you're giving more referrals than what you're giving, or giving more than what you're getting. Human nature can take over, and this idea of giving up control feels very unnatural. But when I read through this book by Keith, it really started changing my perspective and this idea of keeping score. And I stopped. I stopped the spreadsheet. I got rid of it. And I decided I'm just going to start keeping track of how many people can I connect to others? How many people can I help in their business? How many people can I just say, oh, I know someone that could maybe help you with that. Oh, hey, maybe this person could help you with that. And it really freed me up just to do what I feel passionate about. And it was a wonderful release, honestly. The second book that I wanted to talk about is this book by Adam Grant called Give and Take. And his key principle talks about being a giver in your professional relationships and how being a giver can lead to even greater success. This book really solidified the idea of the giver's advantage and purpose-driven networking. So I'm going to share some ideas from this book as well. So in his book, Give and Take, he lays out 3 styles of interaction at work or in business. Sometimes these 3 styles are going to shift and blend from one to another as we work through and work across different relationships. So you have to be aware of that. But here are the 3 basic styles, okay, as he lays them out. Okay, so first there's givers. And givers are people that help others without expecting anything in return. Then there are takers. And takers are people that like to get more than they give. And then there's matchers. And matchers are people that help others to get back equally. Okay, so they kind of like it to be even. So I'm going to share some quotes from Adam, but what I want you to notice is this. In the end, givers are more likely to succeed than takers and even matchers, okay? Generosity breeds success. So here's the first quote. Every time we interact with another person at work, we have a choice to make. Do we try to claim as much value as we can, or to contribute value without worrying about what we will receive in return? Here's another quote. Takers have a distinctive signature. They like to get more than they give. They tilt reciprocity in their own favor, putting up their own interests ahead of others' needs. Takers believe the world is a competitive dog-eat-dog place. They feel that to succeed, they need to be better than others. They honestly function from a belief that scarcity, there's scarcity rather than abundance. There is only so much that a person can get, so they're always trying to keep score to get ahead because they don't believe, that there's just abundance out there and there's plenty for everyone. Here's another quote. To prove their competence, takers self-promote and make sure they get plenty of credit for their efforts. Garden variety takers aren't cruel or cutthroat, they're just cautious and self-protective. In the workplace, givers are a relatively rare breed. They tilt reciprocity in the other direction, preferring to give more than they get, whereas takers tend to be self-focused, evaluating what other people can offer them. Givers are other-focused, paying more attention to what other people need from them. If you're a giver at work, you simply strive to be generous in sharing your time, energy, knowledge, skills, ideas, and connections with other people who can benefit from them. If you're a taker, you help others strategically when the benefits to you outweigh the costs. If you're a giver, you might use a different cost-benefit analysis. You help whenever the benefits to others exceed the personal costs. And here's my last quote. If you want to achieve success, stop asking for what you can get and start focusing on what you can give. I want to summarize here. Givers succeed in a way that creates a ripple effect, influencing the success of others around them. Givers tend to be the top sellers simply because they focus on helping other people. They help and they help and they help, and things just end up coming back to them in return. I'm going to call a giver a purpose-driven individual. And a purpose-driven individual is a purpose-driven leader who tends to lead a purpose-driven organization. A purpose-driven organization or bank will create a competitive differentiation or an emotional engagement that will help them grow their business network and win clients and business partners. A bank whose purpose is to improve the lives of their customers has a much more compelling message in their market. They will spark innovation, and their team will be much more likely to go the extra mile if they see their leader giving and going the extra mile rather than being a taker or even a matcher. The difference between being a taking organization or a transactional organization and being a giving, purpose-driven organization can lead to a dramatic impact on employees, customers, and communities, and I believe in ultimately your financial performance. So with this as the backdrop, and as the stage of everything we do in regards to networking, how do we now build a powerful business network? What are some actual steps that we can take, okay? So let's talk about that. In the old days, I think, the old days being the 90s, right? Networking in the 90s. I think it seemed relatively easy, right? Everyone did the same thing. There was no internet, there was no cell phones, no social media. The complexity for networking was much less. It was significantly less. We knew exactly what to do, where to go, how to do it. It was leisurely lunches, golf outings, drinks with everyone. There was no webinars, no video conferencing, no Zoom meetings. They were all face-to-face interactions. There was so much value in the simplicity of these interactions and in building relationships. There was this effectiveness in face-to-face networking and the building of these relationships. Let's look at where we are today. We are in a digital landscape. There is much more diversity. And when we're making decisions about how to build a powerful network, it is much more complicated. Our network has exploded. We have way more options we need to consider, such as conferences, associations, trade shows, seminars, coffees. There are so many things that you have to take into consideration. Not only that, we have a much larger awareness of the market, of what our competition is doing, of what is happening, of what's out there. We have digital tools that allow us to dig deeper into different tools that are out there. The latest thing now is AI. What do we need to be aware of with that? It can lead us to feeling much more intimidated and make us feel like a little fish in a big pond. There's geographical expansion. The world now is a much bigger place. Before we had to worry about our little community. Now we're not only worrying about our little community or our communities or our county or our state. Now we're working in a much bigger geography. There's greater demands on our time and often with fewer resources, time and dollars. Social media has caused us to place even less influence on relationships as more influence is being placed on social media marketing. It feels like we can find everything we need on Google, and everything we need to achieve can be done right by the perfect placement on Facebook, right, or Instagram. Do we really even need to meet with people anymore, or do we just need to have the right social media marketing campaign? Less personal connections are happening. There's less face-to-face meetings. More conversation is happening over email, video chats, Teams messaging, Snapchat, everything like that. I believe all of this has led to an inability to focus, to prioritize. There's less time to interact, less time to maintain relationships. And I believe our business development and networking efforts have become much more fragmented and tenuous. Relationships that used to be strong and vibrant, I believe, can't come and go with the shifting of the sand. and the changing of the seasons. But at the heart of business development, it's really about cultivating connections. That has not changed. Even though everything related to business to marketing has changed, business development is still the same. It is about connections. It's nurturing relationships. Networking is about genuine, authentic, trusting relationships, and it's about seeing how you can help others. When we create authentic and honest relationships, when we focus on how we can help others succeed and prosper, we contribute to their success as well as our own. Shared success in relationships is very important. And unfortunately, all the items that we talked about in the previous slide have all led us to believe that those are business development and those are all marketing. That is not business development. And I think we've lost our focus on what is business development. Additionally, I think there's this common misconception that business development is a numbers game. We think that it's about quantity, and that is not the case. It's not just numbers. Again, that's a marketing issue. Marketing is all about hitting the numbers. Business development is about quality. It's not about quantity. It's not just about collecting business cards. It's not just about how many connections you can make on LinkedIn or Facebook. We've shifted our focus from this face-to-face, deep and meaningful relationships to marketing. There's this trap that we fall into just to collect names and contact, and this truly does nothing really for building these deep, honest connections. Simply strive to become great at helping others, at focusing on others first, on caring about them, at solving their problems. Connect them to someone who can help them. Connect them to someone who cares about them. I love this quote by Simon Sinek, who says, the true value of networking doesn't come from how many people we can meet, but rather how many people we can introduce to others who can help them fix their problem. Focus less on the number of contacts we make and focus more on the number of meaningful connections we make. Quantity is the responsibility of marketing. Quality is the responsibility of business development. Embrace abundance and foster collaboration inside of your organization. Develop a mindset that focuses on this philosophy that there is abundance and plenty for others, for everyone, rather than scarcity, to encourage collaboration amongst the peers and teammates inside your organization and inside others too. We have to believe that there is plenty of room for success for you, for your peers, for competitors, which creates a supportive network and encourages growth and innovation and teamwork. Because working together, we come up with great ideas. And it creates this mindset that we talked about earlier of give rather than take. It's so interesting to me because internally we create a culture of competition rather than one of collaboration as we fight for attention, recognition, promotions, rather than realizing that if we are hugely successful, there is a plenty of abundance available for all of us. If we emphasize competition over abundance, we will never experience the abundance and success that we could experience in an environment of teamwork and collaboration. Remember this in how we recognize our success. We need to remember to focus on the right stuff. We get so caught up in this distraction of focusing on our competition too. We worry about what they're doing down the street, and we spend so much time on worrying what the bank down the street is doing rather than focusing on what we're doing. We worry about what they're focusing on. when we should be focusing on what we're doing. We can't control what our neighbor down the street is doing. We can't control on what they're focusing on, but we can control what we're doing. It's important to keep our focus on our plans and our goals, on our objectives and our strategies. Not only that, we can't control what the government is doing, and we spend so much time focusing on what's happening in Washington. Yes, we need to be aware of what's happening, but we cannot control that. We need to be focusing on the areas that we can control. We can lose way too much time worrying about all these things that are on the outside that we can't control. Make sure we focus on the right stuff. Another thing that I want to encourage us to do is branch out. Don't limit our network and our relationships to just those that are within inside of our bank. Look out, branch out, create relationships with others inside of other banks. I think that the conference is a great example of that. It's a great chance to meet with others and to hear what they're doing. And not just with others inside of the banking industry, look at others in other industries. They also have and experience the same problems and the same issues that you experience in the banking industry. They just put maybe a little bit of a different name to it, but they have the same issues. It is great to meet with others in other industries and learn from them and listen to them. Don't be afraid to branch out. When you develop relationships with other individuals, you benefit from growing your skills, your knowledge, your insights from their processes, and that can help you operate more efficiently. And as you grow in your profession, you become a more knowledgeable business person. And other professionals such as CPAs, attorneys, insurance agents often serve as your principal referral sources, and that will help you develop relationships. It will help you build your referral network. And it will also help you add insights with your customers that you will be serving. There's value in networking with non-bankers, and then it pulls you out of your routine, and it also helps you think of things from a different perspective. Another important piece to building a robust and a strong business network is create a process. Use tools to help you set reminders. Make sure you follow up. Remember that your time is limited. Your process should be written down. Remember to focus on the right and use that right percentage. Remember what we talked about. Your first focus should be your customers. Your second focus should be your referral sources. And then your third focus should be prospective customers. Make sure that you're prompt and you focus on opportunities so you don't miss out on opportunities to assist others. Make sure that you create a process so that you can commit follow-up opportunities to memory. If you make an offer to someone to do something for them, make a note right away. It creates an aid for your memory, or put it in your phone, or send yourself an email right there while you have your phone there. It shows professionalism and respect for that to that contact, and it also makes them feel valued. Or if you have an idea or a thought, send yourself an idea or make a note so that you don't forget it. Because sometimes, you're thinking about it at a time and it's something that comes or occurs to you. And then if you don't make a note at that time, you forget about it. If you have an idea or a thought, or let's say you run in or you have a book that you think of and you want to share it with one of your customers, send yourself a note so that you don't forget, and then send that book to one of your customers and say, hey, I thought of you and thought you might enjoy this book. They would love that. That is a great idea. It makes them feel valued. I wanted to share this idea too about referrals. If you get a referral from someone, you do have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to follow through promptly. Because when someone gives you a referral, it reflects back on them. Now, when you get a referral, that does not mean you have to say yes. Okay? A referral is not an automatic yes, we're taking you on as a customer. But a referral is a responsibility to respond. You do have to respond. Even if it's a no, you do have to respond. Okay? So, how do you follow up? You do need to say thank you to your referral source if you know who that is. So you need to try and figure out who it's from. You do need to follow up. And how you follow up is important. Are you writing a thank you? Are you giving them a call? Do you take them out for coffee? Do you give them a gift card? Something like that. Also, if you say no, if you get the referral and it's someone that's not the right fit for you, you do need to call that person who is the referral, and you do need to say no, and you need to explain why it's a no. Okay? And then you need to call your referral source back, and you need to tell them why you said no and explain why. If they're not making the right kind of referrals, it's a chance for you to educate them as to why. Perhaps the referrals need to be tweaked a little bit, and that is okay. If they're not quite the right referral type, that's all right. You have a chance now to educate them, but you do need to follow up, and you do need to honor the fact that they're giving you these referrals, okay? You can't just ignore it. Otherwise, it's a poor reflection on yourself, and it's a poor reflection on your relationship with that referral, okay? This is my last slide here for my suggestions. And this is to take the time and go the extra mile, do the work. Take the extra steps that show that you notice your customers. Tiny little personal gestures can have a very big impact and can really make you stand out from the crowd in a large way. They do not need to be really grand gestures or big things. One of the things that I did, and I felt like when I first started doing this, I felt like it was going to be kind of silly, but I'm going to share this with you, is I started a drip campaign. And what I did is I sent out a series of brochures to prospects, and I sent them out in batches of 5. So to 5 prospects at a time. And I sent a brochure, then I followed up with a separate brochure a week later. Then I sent out a 3rd brochure, and I sent it with a box of brownies. It was just a dozen brownies, and they were in a purple box, and the brochure with it, with my business card. And then I called them, and after the box, they received the box of brownies. And when I first started doing that, I was really a little uncertain as to how it would be received, but it really went over well. And people really liked it. And I did it in batches of 5 because it takes time to follow up and to make the calls. And then if you did get a chance to go and meet with them, you know, you have to take the time to go and meet with them. And also I was able to really pick who I wanted those to go to. But the reason why I share that is because it doesn't have to be some big thing like tickets to a concert or something like that. It can be a small gesture for a prospect, for a referral source. It can just be coffee. It can just be a card. It doesn't have to be a big deal. The other thing I wanted to mention is the importance of community. And this was something too that I noticed when I was looking at that survey that was completed that I mentioned last time, and I can't remember what it is right off the top of my head, but they were talking about how now more than ever in that feedback that they got from people on community banking, right now people more than ever are wanting to belong to a community. And people more than ever are really enjoying being part of that, like the over 50 club, where they get the opportunity to go to do things with their group, whether it's going shopping or going to I'm not sure what all those over 50 clubs do or whatever, but people are really enjoying that more than ever. They're wanting to belong to something, and that importance of community and how important that is for community banks. So I'm mentioning that to you because that was something they specifically mentioned in that survey. And so I wanted to mention that to you. And that's something that they also mentioned about the younger generation as well. And it takes time to build an effort to build lasting customer relationships. And customers know when they aren't the driving force in your business. They can tell that. And when all that matters to a business is the numbers and profit, they can tell that. So I want you to really be thinking about what is your purpose, and think about this from your customer's perspective. Ask your team, who would you rather do business with? An organization whose meetings and cultures are focused on their own financial metrics, or an organization that spends their meetings talking about how they can improve their customers' financial metrics? You know, it's a really hard shift to make from a numbers-centric organization to a givers-focused organization. But I think it's a really powerful way to build a robust business network. And I want to share this one last quote from Simon Sinek. Things that matter are difficult. If we want to do the things that matter, it's going to take effort. And I believe that building a really strong business network is something that matters, but it's going to take time. So in summary, avoid the pitfall of transactional networking and making networking a numbers game. Be a giver and experience the ripple effect that purpose-driven networking can create. Create connections, deep, sustained, mutually beneficial relationships. Embrace this idea of abundance, that there's enough for all of us. Don't get sidetracked by all the fluff. Fluff in business development, but also fluff when it comes to watching what all of our competitors are doing, or worrying so much about what's happening outside and at Washington and all the other places. Focus on yourself, focus on your organization and those things that really matter. Don't branch out. Don't be afraid to broaden your network. Create a process when it comes to building a network. Write it down. A plan that's not in writing is not a plan. And go the extra mile. This takes work and effort. So the last thing is these key questions that I really want you to think about and take some time to maybe consider. The first question is, why do you think so many people are prone to keep score when they're networking with others? Why do you think that's so natural? The second question is, I want you to take some time to reflect on your approach then to network, and how could you maybe incorporate a purpose-driven mindset or this giver's approach to networking? And then the last question, where do you find yourself getting sidetracked or pulled off course when you're building your own business network? So those are the three questions. Please remember to send Matt, Julie, or myself a summary of your project when it's completed. Remember, May 31 is your deadline. There's a lot of cool stuff that's happening out there when we look at the OPT. So we're getting close to the end of the year, so finish strong, get everything updated. Thanks for a great year. Thanks for your commitment to the program and to your bank and your industry. What you do matters and is important. we can't wait for next year. We're looking forward to it already. We have great content lined up, and we're ready for you to join us and soak it up. As always, if there's anything that we can do to help you, don't hesitate to reach out. We love hearing from you. We love answering any questions that you might have. Have a great and fantastic summer. Enjoy your break. Spend time with your family and loved ones. Enjoy your break from the forums, but be ready for a great new kickoff in the fall. Thanks so much for your time. Take care.